All right, so taking a gap year. This is something that I think most students should do coming out of high school. I've got Oscar here with me. This is going to be my first podcast sort of thing. I've got multiple angles as well. I know it's crazy. I tried recording a vlog today for my daily vlogs. Didn't work out, so I'm doing this instead. First podcast. I'm excited. It's going to be a very short episode because I'm only going to be talking about one thing. And again, it's going to be about gap years. So anyways, I get it. I get why students don't take a gap year. It's a very daunting thing. A lot of your friends are probably going to go to university. And I think that you're also, a lot of students are pressured by their parents and teachers and society. They have this expectation to go straight into university. And I just don't see how people can know exactly what they want to do for the rest of their life career-wise by the age of 18 and then do a course at uni to get them there. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I decided not to take a gap year. I decided not to go straight into university, and it was a lonely path because all of my friends would go to university, and they'd get into uni clubs and you go to uni events, and every time I caught up with them, they'd mention things related to assessments and assignments and wham and whatever the that means, and I'd be like, yeah, sick. I can't relate. So it is kind of like that. But ultimately, I think that with your friends, you're either going to stick with it and make it work, or, you're going to slowly separate and drift apart and you'll be able to find new friends. And so I think going back to the expectation of knowing what you want to do, I think that's absolutely crazy by the age of 18. And I think that gap years are really valuable in the sense that you get to spend a whole year, right? You can defer your course, so you can actually get into a university course and defer it, and you can just be like, okay, I'm gonna think about this. I'm gonna think about what course I want to do. Let's just pause this course and let's figure it out, and then I can press play again if I feel like that's the right course for me. Because I got into architecture, art design at Monash, and I was like, or RMIT somewhere, yeah, and I was like, okay, well, I can defer. And I can press the pause button and let me just think about it for this year and let me just try different things. And if I still feel like architecture is the best path for me, then I'll do that. If not, then I'll do something else. And so during this gap year, I decided to get 2 retail jobs. I decided to do door-to-door sales. I decided to start up a clothing brand. I decided to do YouTube. I decided to do photography at clubs and events. I was doing all this random shit. And ultimately, after 6 months, I figured out that I was somewhat interested in business. And I think for most people. Yo. What's up? How you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Not too bad.
What you doing?
I was recording my first podcast. You guys want to help me finish up this podcast segment? It's about gap years, right?
Yeah.
Let me just get my microphone from my camera. Should you take a gap year to figure out what you want to do?
My thing is just being like, you can always switch your degrees.
Yeah, but
there's nothing locking
the
you
big
into
problem is like the sunk cost, right? A lot of people are not willing to do that. That's also idealistic. Like, oh, I'll try it out. If I don't like it, I'll switch. But then when you're actually in it all the time, you're like, I've already dedicated a year of my life to this. I've wasted the fees on it. My friends are going to be progressing onto like their second years. I'm going to be starting as like a Jaffe. Ideally, I feel like people are like, oh, amazing.
I've heard of a lot of people that do that though.
Really?
I've heard of a lot of people that change degrees. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. My mate, he did 2 years of comm, and then he switched into science because like he just hated comm. And it's like, yeah, sure, like your friends are continuing on graduating, but that shouldn't matter. And then it's like the cost shouldn't matter because like long term, like if you found what you like, then it's not gonna
but
matter.
for him to make that jump, it must have been really nerve-wracking, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure it was. But like, would you be able to come to that conclusion like doing a gap year? It's kind of so hard because usually a gap year is like just more time to relax.
Yeah, I think that people like misinterpret what I mean by gap year. I don't mean like just sitting on the couch and just like TV or around.
Yeah.
I think that if people spend time, if you spend every single day, like just doing random things, like trying a new experience or thinking about what you could potentially see yourself doing every single day, then like I highly doubt that by the end of the year you wouldn't be able to figure it out. Or like have some sort of direction.
Yeah. I just don't know if that's a reality. Like people think that a gap year is what you're saying it is.
Yeah.
And like do that actively throughout the whole year.
That's fair enough.
I don't know if that's the case.
I think that the thing with gap years though is that when you decide, okay, I'm going to take a gap year, because no one else is going to take a gap year, you're probably going to be the only one. You're kind of forced to actually like be put in that position where you're like, okay, I have to figure this shit out now.
I feel like even if you just take that year to do a bunch of research, even if you don't go out there and actively do anything, if you just like, there's so much content on YouTube. If you just dedicate like each week to researching about a specific profession, watching YouTube videos on it, it will help you a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I definitely feel like it's useful.
Not everyone going into uni knows like, oh, this is my life's calling. It's like you're gonna meet people and talk to people who are in like similar, going through the exact same train of thought. That's like, for example, when I met Matt, like we were talking about like career heaps and just like being in an environment where everyone's figuring out what they want to do. Personally really helped me figure out what I was interested in. Because it's just like your sources of information are right next to you. Like it's so much easier. For example, in commerce, like for me to realize what commerce would actually like, it was listening to like, oh, this guy did an internship here. This is what it was like. You actually see it in a very realistic way rather than just seeing it online and stuff like that. Seeing it more tangibly, like kind of helps. That makes sense.
It really puts you in a bubble though. And you want to make sure you know enough about yourself before you even enter into
I agree.
Maybe a gap year would help.
Yeah, if you're feeling lost, then maybe a gap year can help. But I think like it's also important to just like not use it as time around.
And
just like go clubbing every week and like get drunk.
So if we're taking just the average, then would you say yes or no for a gap year straight out of high school? The average student.
Honestly, no.
No.
Yeah,
Cool.
I don't know.
It's a hard one. It's a really hard one.
Yeah, I think I'd say yes.
Yeah, no, I'd say yes.
I think your approach to a gap year is fantastic, and
Yeah.
if most people like had that approach, that's I definitely agree. But like your work ethic's kind of like different.
Well, I mean, I kind of took a gap year. I took a gap 6 months. So I like started my master's degree, and I was having a bit of a crisis because I was like, I don't really know if this is worth it to me. Like I'm putting in so much effort, but I don't really see the tangible benefit. So I took off 6 months. Like I paused my degree, and I used that 6 months to like really do a lot of research and like look into potential pathway careers. And that made me realize that it was really useful. Like I used it to apply for jobs in the tech field just with my BCom degree, without my master's. And like I wasn't, like I was successful, but I felt like I just wasn't built for it yet without that degree. So then I gained like this newfound appreciation for the degree, and I ended up continuing it with like a lot more like grit and motivation.
That's a fair point. You don't have to take a gap year like straight out of high school. You can actually take it.
Exactly.
So that is the first episode of this podcast. Thanks, Zan and Ethan, for joining me for the first one. I think Ethan has a good point, and I think that it's a very interesting point as well. Like his main concern, I think, is that a lot of people, if they were to take a gap year, wouldn't do what I suggest, which is to think about, what you want to do every single day, think about your future, think about what careers you could take, and they would, they'd just around, they go clubbing and, they play video games, whatever it is, and just kind of take that gap year and kind of convert it more into like a holiday and just relax. And I think that is a very easy trap to fall under, and I think that is a thing that I have to be aware of, because I have been pushing this message on TikTok and YouTube and whatever, that taking a gap year is a good idea. And I think it is a good idea, but not for those certain people. I think that if you're going to take a gap year, I recommend you spend every single day figuring out what you want to do in the future. Whether next year you want to go to university and do a certain course, or whether you want to, do something outside of university, what you're interested in, and trying all these different experiences, trying all these different jobs. That's what you need to do. And I think that if people do that for a whole year, there's no way that you wouldn't be able to figure out what kind of direction you want to go in life. And I think in my point of view, the societal norm for most people coming out of high school is just to go straight into university. So I think that, taking a gap year, it kind of allows you to break out of that norm, and therefore kind of lets you think by yourself and for yourself. And I think sometimes as well, you need to kind of like take this time at the age of 18 to figure out who you are. And I also think that, I think Zan's right in that, like, even taking like a 6 month or 12-month break to, reevaluate and to kind of like look at what you're doing and seeing if it aligns with who you are and what you can see yourself doing. And then if it doesn't, switching course, I think is, an important decision that you should make. So I am very much for gap years, but this may be an ongoing conversation that I'll have with Ethan and Zan and maybe other friends that I might bring onto the podcast. Not sure that I'll continue this podcast, but if you guys enjoyed it, then I definitely will. Zan, Ethan, again, thank you guys so much. And hopefully everyone else enjoyed this podcast. If you guys did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And comment what you guys think, your opinions, and if you guys want us to talk about something, then we will talk about it. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for bearing with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.